They're serving his coffee wrong again at the funeral home. 2 sugars, no cream. Not black with half and half like they've prepared. I want to march over to the refreshment table and fix it, but that would be inappropriate. Everything about me being here is inappropriate, starting with the way my heart shattered when I got the news, and ending with how I can't stop crying harder than his actual widow. 3 days ago, everything was different. 3 days ago, Ethan was alive, and I was still pretending that what we had was just friendship. Deep friendship. The kind of friendship that required daily texts and weekly lunches and carefully orchestrated moments alone that I never told my husband about. Now he's gone, and I'm sitting in the back row of a funeral home in Louisville, watching his wife Linda receive condolences for a loss that feels like mine. My husband Tom sits beside me, rubbing my back, probably wondering why I'm taking the death of just a coworker so hard. If he knew the truth, he wouldn't be comforting me. He'd be filing for divorce. It started 2 years ago when Ethan joined our marketing team at the hospital. Fresh from a divorce, new to Kentucky, assigned to the desk next to mine. I was supposed to show him around, help him settle in. Just professional courtesy, nothing more. "So what's good for lunch around here?" he'd asked that first day, and I should have directed him to the cafeteria like everyone else. Instead, I offered to show him my favorite spot, a little Thai place 5 blocks away where they remembered my order, and the booths were private enough for real conversation. "Thanks for this," he said over pad Thai. "Moving here, starting over, it's harder than I thought it would be." "I get it. I moved here 8 years ago when Tom got transferred, left everything in Buffalo behind." "You miss it?" "Every day." It was true, though I'd never admitted it out loud. Not to Tom, who loved Louisville and our suburban life. Not to my local friends who couldn't understand why anyone would miss snow and Rust Belt decay. But Ethan understood. He missed San Antonio the same way I missed home. That lunch turned into a weekly tradition, just coworkers grabbing a meal. Nothing suspicious about that. Except I started lying about it from the beginning, telling Tom I was eating at my desk or meeting with different colleagues. Small lies that felt harmless, necessary even to avoid questions about why I needed this particular friendship so much. "You're glowing lately," Tom noticed a few months in. "What's your secret?" "Just happy, I guess. Work's been good." Work was good. Because of Ethan, because suddenly I had someone who got my references, laughed at my jokes, actually listened when I talked about my day. Someone who texted me random observations that made me smile in meetings. Someone who made 40 hours a week feel like possibility instead of obligation. "We should probably eat at the cafeteria sometimes," Ethan suggested after 6 months of Thai lunches. "People might start talking. Let them talk. We're not doing anything wrong." But I was already doing everything wrong. Already checking my phone constantly for his messages. Already picking outfits based on what might catch his eye. Already comparing every conversation with Tom to the easy flow of words between Ethan and me. "How's your friend?" Tom asked one night, catching me smiling at my phone. "What friend?" "The one who's got you grinning like that." "Oh, just Mandy. She sent a funny meme." Another lie. It was Ethan, sending me a photo of a dog that looked like our hospital CEO. Nothing inappropriate. Nothing that crossed any lines. Except for the lying. Except for the way my heart raced when his name appeared on my screen. The turning point came a year in. The hospital Christmas party, spouses invited. I'd been dreading it for weeks, knowing Tom and Ethan would finally meet. Knowing I'd have to watch Ethan with his new girlfriend while pretending he meant nothing special to me. "So you're the famous Ethan," Tom said, shaking his hand. "Lauren talks about you all the time." "Does she?" Ethan glanced at me, something unreadable in his expression. "Oh yeah, Ethan said this, Ethan thinks that." I was starting to get jealous. He laughed like it was a joke, because to him it was. The idea of me having feelings for another man was so impossible he could tease about it publicly. Meanwhile, I stood there in my carefully chosen dress, dying inside as Ethan introduced his date. "This is Linda!" She was everything I wasn't. Younger, prettier, unencumbered by a mortgage and a husband and 8 years of accumulated suburban compromise. She laughed at his jokes the way I wanted to, touched his arm the way I couldn't, kissed him at midnight while I stood across the room with Tom, pretending to be happy. "He seems nice," Tom said on the drive home. "Kind of intense, though." "What do you mean?" "Just the way he kept watching you. Like he was checking to make sure you were okay." "That's ridiculous." But he had been watching. I'd felt it all night, his gaze finding me in the crowd, holding a beat too long. Or maybe I was projecting, seeing what I wanted to see, creating a connection that existed only in my imagination. The next Monday, Ethan was waiting by my desk with coffee. My exact order from the place around the corner, not the break room swill everyone else drank. "Figured you might need this after the party," he said. Thanks. You didn't have to." "I wanted to." He paused. "You looked beautiful, by the way." "That green dress." "Ethan?" "I know, I'm sorry, that was inappropriate." But he didn't look sorry. He looked like a man who'd finally said something he'd been holding back. And I didn't correct him, didn't establish proper boundaries, didn't do anything a married woman should do when a colleague complimented her dress in a voice that suggested so much more. Instead, I said, "Linda seems nice." "She is. Very nice, very uncomplicated." Unlike me, with my husband and my lies and my weekly Thai lunches that were becoming the highlight of my existence. "We should talk," he said. "Not here." "Can you do lunch today?" "I have a meeting." "After work, then?" "Just to talk, as friends." Friends. The word we hid behind like it absolved everything. Like it made the lying acceptable. Like it explained why I'd started shaving my legs more carefully on Thai lunch days, and why his opinion mattered more than my husband's. "Okay, the coffee shop on 5th? Too public." "My apartment's just around the corner. We could order takeout, actually talk without the whole hospital watching." Every rational part of my brain screamed no. Going to his apartment was crossing a line we'd been dancing around for a year, but rationality had stopped driving my decisions the day he walked into my office. "I need to think about it," I said, buying time I didn't need. I already knew I'd go. "Sure, let me know." I spent the rest of the day accomplishing nothing, stared at spreadsheets without seeing numbers, sat through meetings without hearing words. My wedding ring caught the light every time I moved my hand, a $3,000 reminder of promises I was about to risk breaking. At 3, I texted Tom. "Working late on the Henderson presentation. Don't wait up." His response came immediately. "Want me to bring you dinner?" "I could pick up something from that sandwich place you like." The offer made my chest tight. Even neglected, even taken for granted, he was still trying to take care of me. "No thanks. I'll grab something from the vending machine." "That's not dinner, babe." "Let me bring you real food." "Tom, I'm fine. Just need to focus." "Okay, love you." "Love you too." Another lie to add to my collection. Because if I really loved him, would I be clearing my browser history? Would I be touching up my makeup in the bathroom mirror? Would I be texting another man that, yes, I'd come to his apartment just to talk? Just to talk, I repeated out loud to my reflection, as if saying it enough times would make it true. I told Tom I was working late on a presentation. Another lie added to the pile. He didn't question it, just asked me to text when I was heading home. Trusting, always so trusting. The drive to Ethan's apartment took 12 minutes. I know because I watched every second tick by on my dashboard clock, each one a chance to turn around. At red lights, I gripped the steering wheel and told myself I was just going to talk to a friend. Friends visit each other's apartments. Nothing wrong with that. Except friends don't park 2 blocks away so their cars won't be seen. Friends don't check their reflection in the visor mirror 3 times. Friends don't silence their phones and hide them deep in their purses like evidence. Ethan answered on the first knock. He'd changed from his work clothes into jeans and a t-shirt that made him look younger, more like the mistake I was about to make. "You came," he said, like he'd expected me to chicken out. Said I would. I ordered Chinese. Hope that's okay. I'm not really hungry. Yeah, me neither. Ethan's apartment was exactly what I'd imagined. Sparse but clean, boxes still unpacked in corners, a guitar I didn't know he played propped against the wall. It smelled like him, that cologne I'd memorized without meaning to. Wine? He offered, already pouring 2 glasses. I shouldn't. Probably not, but I took the glass anyway, settled onto his couch like this was normal. Like married women had wine in single men's apartments all the time. I need to tell you something, he started, then stopped. No, that's not right. I need to ask you something. Okay. Am I imagining this? This thing between us? Because sometimes I think you feel it too, and sometimes I think I'm just some pathetic divorced guy projecting onto his married coworker. The wine glass shook in my hand. Ethan. Just be honest with me, Lauren. Please, am I alone in this? The correct answer was yes. The safe answer was yes. The married answer was yes. No, I whispered. You're not alone. The admission hung between us like a lit fuse. We both knew what came next in stories like this. The inevitable lean in, the kiss that changed everything, the line that couldn't be uncrossed. But Ethan surprised me. He didn't move closer, didn't reach for me, just nodded like I'd confirmed something painful but necessary. Okay, he said. So what do we do? I don't know. I do. We stop, the lunches, the texts, all of it. Because I can't be just your friend anymore, and you can't be more than that. I could. No, you couldn't. You won't. You love Tom. Maybe not the way you think you love me, but it's real. It's built on years and commitment and a life you chose. This thing with us? It's fantasy. It's what happens when 2 lonely people find each other at the wrong time. I'm not lonely, I protested. Aren't you? Then why are you here? I didn't have an answer. Or I had too many answers, none of them acceptable, because I was lonely, desperately lonely in a marriage that looked perfect from the outside but felt like slow suffocation from within. Tom was a good man who loved me, but he loved the version of me I'd presented 8 years ago. The woman who wanted suburbia and book clubs and eventual children I kept finding excuses to delay. I should go, I said instead of explaining. Yeah, you should. But I didn't move. Neither did he. We sat there, wine growing warm in our glasses, not touching but so aware of each other the air felt electric. I dream about you, he said quietly. Is that pathetic? Yes. Do you dream about me? Yes. He laughed, but it sounded like crying. We're quite a pair. Ethan. I'm going to transfer, he interrupted. Put in for the Nashville office. They have an opening. You don't have to do that. Yes, I do. Because if I stay, we're going to ruin your life. Maybe mine too, but definitely yours. And I care about you too much to let that happen. When? End of the month? 3 weeks? 3 weeks. It felt like a death sentence and a reprieve all at once. 3 weeks to pretend we were just friends. 3 weeks to memorize everything about him I'd miss. 3 weeks before he disappeared and I could go back to lying only to myself instead of everyone. I finally stood to leave. At the door, he caught my hand. Lauren, that night, that first lunch when you showed me the Thai place, I knew then. Knew you were married, knew it was wrong, knew I should have kept it professional, but you smiled at me over spring rolls and complained about the weather, and I thought maybe I'd finally found my person. Stupid, right? Not stupid. I managed through the tears I couldn't stop. Just wrong timing. Story of my life. I left without kissing him. Drove home with my whole body shaking. Found Tom asleep on the couch, TV still on, waiting up for me like the good husband he was. The next 3 weeks were torture. Ethan kept his distance at work. No more coffee runs or Thai lunches. Our interactions were polite, professional, painful. I threw myself into my marriage with desperate intensity, cooking elaborate dinners, initiating sex, suggesting date nights Tom received with pleased confusion. "What's gotten into you?" he asked after I surprised him with tickets to a concert he'd mentioned wanting to see. "Just realized I've been taking you for granted." "Honey, you never take me for granted." But I did. Every day, every lie, every moment I wished I was with someone else. Ethan's last day arrived too fast. The office threw him a going-away party, grocery store cake, and warm wishes for his new adventure. I hung back, letting others say their goodbyes, trying to figure out how to say goodbye to someone who'd become essential without ever really being mine. "Take care of yourself," he said when the crowd thinned, formal handshake like we were strangers. "You too. Good luck in Nashville." Lauren --. "Don't, please." He nodded, understanding as always. "Right, well, bye." "Wait," I said as he turned to go. "Your personal email, in case you need a reference or something. I have HR's number." "Right, of course." He studied me for a moment, then pulled out his phone. "Here. Put your number in, I'll text you my email. For references." My hands shook as I typed. 10 digits that would keep us connected. 10 numbers that would make the clean break impossible. "Lauren." Sandra from accounting appeared at my elbow. "The Patterson meeting got moved to 3. "Okay, thanks." When I turned back, Ethan was gone. My phone buzzed a moment later. Just his email address, nothing more. I saved it immediately, then deleted the text like evidence. And that was it. 2 years of almosts and never quites reduced to a professional handshake and careful distance. He walked out of the office, out of my life, and I went back to my desk, like my world hadn't just shifted off its axis. The next months passed in a haze. I told myself it was for the best, told myself the pain would fade, told myself Tom deserved a wife who wasn't in love with someone else, even if that wife was miserable. We texted sometimes, careful, innocent messages about work or weather or nothing important, each one a tiny betrayal of the clean break we'd promised, each one making it harder to move on. "I miss talking to you," he admitted one night, 6 months after Nashville. "We're talking now. You know what I mean." I did. I missed it too. Missed having someone who understood my references, who made me laugh, who saw me as more than Tom's wife or the woman from marketing. But missing wasn't enough reason to destroy a marriage. Was it? A year passed. The texts grew less frequent but never stopped entirely. I learned to live with the constant low-grade ache of his absence, the way you learn to live with any chronic pain. Tom and I settled back into our routine, and if he noticed I was different, sadder, he didn't mention it. Maybe he attributed it to work stress or the ongoing failure to get pregnant. Maybe he just didn't want to know. Then, 3 days ago, Linda called. I didn't even know she had my number, didn't know she knew who I was. But Ethan had listed me as an emergency contact, she said. Old paperwork he'd never updated. There'd been an accident. A driver running a red light. He'd died on impact. The words didn't make sense. People like Ethan didn't die. Not at 35. Not when they'd just texted you 2 days before about a new restaurant you'd never get to try together. Not when you'd spent a year pretending you could live without them. "Are you okay?" Tom asked when I collapsed in the kitchen, phone still pressed to my ear. "What's wrong?" "Ethan," I managed. "My friend from work. There was an accident." "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry." He held me while I sobbed, never questioning why I was falling apart over someone he'd met once. Someone who was supposed to be just a colleague, just a friend. His comfort made it worse somehow, this undeserved kindness while I mourned a man I'd loved in all the wrong ways. Which brings me here, to this funeral home, to this back row where I'm trying to grieve quietly enough that Linda won't notice. She's the real widow, the one with the right to fall apart. I'm just the coworker who used to have lunch with her husband, the friend he transferred away from for reasons she'll never know. "Did you want to say something?" the funeral director asks, inviting people to share memories. I shake my head. What would I say? That he made me laugh? That he understood my obscure movie quotes? That for 2 years he was the best part of my day, and I'd spent the last year pretending I could live without that light? Tom squeezes my hand, mistaking my tears for simple grief instead of the complicated mess they really are. I squeeze back, grateful and guilty in equal measure. He's been perfect through this, driving me to the funeral, sitting through a service for a man he barely knew, never once questioning why this loss has destroyed me. Others share their memories. Childhood friends, college roommates, colleagues from Nashville who drove up for the service. They paint a picture of the Ethan I knew, funny, kind, always ready with a helping hand or a listening ear. No one mentions the woman from Louisville he used to text. No one knows about the almosts that haunted him the way they haunt me. Linda speaks last, voice steady despite her tears. She talks about their marriage, their plans, the life they were building. The ring he'd bought, the proposal he'd been planning, the future that died with him on that street. The ring. He was going to propose to Linda, was probably carrying it when he died. While I'd been treasuring sporadic texts and nursing an impossible love, he'd been moving on, building something real, being the good man he'd always been. "You okay?" Tom whispers as Linda returns to her seat. "Yeah, just sad. The biggest truth hidden in the smallest lie." After the service, there's a reception. Tom mingles, making small talk with strangers, being the supportive husband he thinks I need. I stand by the windows, watching cars pass on the street where Ethan will never drive again. "You're Lauren!" I turn to find Linda beside me, eyes swollen but alert. "Yes, I'm so sorry for your loss. Ethan was... he was a good friend." "He talked about you sometimes. Said you were the best part of his job in Louisville." "That's kind." "He kept a photo." "From some office lunch. You and him and a few others, but..." She pauses, seems to reconsider. "Anyway, thank you for coming. I know you were... friends." The way she says it makes me wonder what she knows, what she suspects. But then someone else approaches with condolences, and she's swept away before I can read more into it. "Ready to go?" Tom asks, appearing with our coats. Yes, let's go home." Home to our house in the suburbs. Home to our life that suddenly feels both precious and suffocating. Home to the marriage I chose to honor even when my heart was elsewhere. In the car, Tom takes my hand. "I love you," he says apropos of nothing. "I love you too. And I do. Not the desperate, consuming way I loved Ethan, but steadily, truly, the way you love someone who's seen your worst and stayed anyway, even if he doesn't know just how worst that worst really is." "I was thinking," he continues as we drive, "maybe we should take that trip we've been talking about. Europe or somewhere. Life's short, you know? Life's short. Ethan proved that. One red light, one distracted driver, and everything ends. All the careful distances maintained, all the right choices made, all the futures planned. Gone in an instant." "That sounds nice," I say, meaning it. Maybe that's how I'll honor him. Not with flowers on his grave or donations in his memory, but by trying to love the life I chose instead of mourning the one I didn't. By being present in my marriage instead of lost in what-ifs. By finally, truly letting go. My phone buzzes. Old habit makes me check it immediately, the way I always did when it might be him. But it's just a work email. It will always be just work emails now. "Everything okay?" Tom asks. "Everything's fine." Another lie, the last one maybe. Or maybe just the newest in an endless series, because how do you tell your husband that your heart is broken for another man? How do you explain that you're grieving something that never quite was, but always might have been? You don't. You carry it quietly, this loss that isn't yours to claim. You go home and make dinner and pretend the world hasn't shifted. You delete old texts so you won't be tempted to read them again and again, looking for signs you should have tried harder or been braver or cared less about the casualties. You move forward because that's what the living do, and if you sometimes dream about Thai lunches and almost kisses and a man who knew you were married but dreamed about you anyway, well, that's between you and your guilt and the God you're not sure is listening anymore. I'm glad you were able to say goodbye, Tom says as we pull into our driveway. I know how hard it is to lose a friend. A friend. That careful word we used like armor, like it could protect us from what we were really feeling. Like it made the lying noble instead of just necessary. Yeah, I agree. It's hard to lose a friend. We go inside and life continues. Tom makes dinner because he can see I'm struggling. We eat in comfortable silence the way married people do. He tells me about his day, and I pretend to listen while my mind replays every lunch, every text, every moment I should have either walked away or held on tighter. Later, in bed, Tom pulls me close. I'm here, he whispers. Whatever you need. What I need is impossible. What I need is buried in Louisville Cemetery, under flowers from his almost fiancé. What I need is to go back 2 years and make different choices, though I'm not sure which ones. But what I have is this: a husband who loves me despite my secrets, a life that's good despite my ingratitude, a future that's possible despite my past. It's not the love story I wanted, but it's the one I chose. And maybe that has to be enough. I close my eyes and try not to think about coffee orders and Thai food, and a man who transferred to Nashville rather than let me ruin my life for him. Try not to wonder if I should have let him. Tomorrow I'll wake up and try harder. Tomorrow I'll be a better wife. Tomorrow I'll start forgetting, or at least pretending to. But tonight, in the dark with Tom's steady breathing beside me, I let myself remember. Let myself grieve. Let myself love a ghost who was never really mine to love at all. Just this once. Just tonight. Just until morning comes and I have to be okay again. Because that's what you do when you're the other woman who never quite was. You mourn in secret. You heal in silence. You carry a love that shouldn't have existed and honor it the only way you can, by never letting it destroy what's left. Even if what's left feels like settling. Even if every day forward is a day further from the last time you felt truly alive. Even if the rest of your life is just an epilogue to a story that ended before it began. You live with it. You live through it. You live, because the alternative is explaining to your husband why you're crying over another man's coffee order at a funeral where you have no right to grieve. And some secrets are worth keeping, even from yourself.